Welcome to the Arun Church podcast, where our mission is bringing life to everyone, everywhere, every day. Each podcast episode features the latest talk from our church, which are released weekly. We're passionate about Jesus, love to worship together, and are committed to changing our community for the better. Connect with us at arunchurch.com.
Morning, everybody. Morning, Paula. Thank you. Good morning, children. It's so nice to have you in here. Thank you. So good to see that you're all doing your colouring, but I want you to keep your ears open because remember what Beck said today. When you get home from church, you're going to be thinking and talking with your family about what you could be generous with. So let's just be listening to what I'm saying as well and just thinking and asking God, what could I be generous with? So today we are continuing our Roots and Wings series. So we're still on the roots. We've only got a few weeks left of roots before we move on to the wings. So roots grow down. That was my last talk. I'm on the pages of my last talk. Let's flick forward. Otherwise we're going to be, here we go, rooted in generosity. There we go. So we're looking at being rooted in generosity. A few weeks ago, me and the family went to a wedding. And at this wedding, it was the most perfect combination of a bride and groom because the groom was a real foodie. The groom loves really good quality food and he loves good quality wine and he just loves, that's what he loves doing. The bride, she loves gathering people. She loves hosting. She loves cooking for people and having everybody over and everyone together. So this was the most perfect wedding. So we arrive at the ceremony and on every single seat in the ceremony, there was a chocolate penguin bar just to get you through the service. And then straight after the ceremony, they brought out hot, homemade sausage rolls for everyone to have with your champagne that were then just appeared. And then at the back, there was all the drinks that you could imagine. You know, like posh cans, not just like Coke, but like posh fizzy cans. And there was beer and there was juice for the kids and there was everything all just there. And then this amazing table of cakes appeared and it was every kind of cake you could imagine. I'm not just talking like a Victoria sponge. I'm talking like a Biscoff blondie and a crunchy brownies, like all the good stuff. There was just so many of these cakes. That wasn't even the meal. That was just to get you through to the meal. And then we arrive at the reception and the champagne is just circulating constantly. And the canapes came out and they weren't just like vol au vents. They were like monkfish on a skewer with stuff that I'd never tried before. And it was like all really fancy. And they just kept on coming. And then we got to the meal and it was like a 3-course meal there was red, white and rosé wine on the table at all time. Whenever the bottle got nearly empty, another one came. And then in the evening they were just handing out gourmet burgers just in case you hadn't had your fill for that day. And the bar was just open, totally free, nothing to pay. It was extravagant, it was generous. And it felt amazing being there, just constantly surprised by the next thing, this is incredible. So when we're thinking about generosity, I thought, let's go back to the beginning. Let's going back to the core, right at the beginning of time. If we're looking at being rooted in generosity, what is at the very root of humanity? What is at the very root of mankind? So we're going to go straight to Genesis 1. Right to the beginning. So Genesis 1 verse 28 says this. I'm going to read from the Amplified version, which might be slightly different, but just because it adds a few extra words. And God blessed them, granting them certain authority, and said to them, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth, and subjugate it, putting it under your power, and rule over, dominate the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and every living thing that moves upon the earth. So God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you, and to all the animals on earth, and to every bird in the air, and everything that moves in the ground, to everything in which there was the breath of life. I have given green plant for food. And it was so because he commanded it. God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was good. He validated it completely. And there was evening and there was morning, a sixth day. You see, when God created the world for us, God created an oasis. God created the ultimate paradise. God didn't just create what we needed. God created an absolute abundance, everything above and beyond. But not only that, he created opportunity. He created potential. He created enough, and then he was like, and go. There's more to come. The seeds will keep on providing. You go, you create, you have it in your power. I'm giving you control because you think this is just the beginning. There is so much more to come of this world. There is so much in it. Guys, be creative. Here you go. He said, be fruitful and multiply. Rule over the sea, rule over the sky, rule over the land, rule over the birds, the fish, the animals, rule over the plant, the trees. There is everything. And he said, eat freely from it all, except for the tree of knowledge. Have it all and go, do what you want. And then we arrive in Genesis 3. And it says, now the serpent was more crafty, subtly skilled in deceit, more than any other living creature of the field which the Lord had made. And the serpent said to the woman, can it really be that you shouldn't eat from any tree in the garden? Lie. That's not what God said. God said you could have it all except that one thing. All except that one thing. But the serpent says, can it be that you can't eat from any of it? A lie straight away. And the woman said to the serpent, no, we can eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden except for the tree that's in the middle of the garden. And God said, you shall not eat from it or touch it, otherwise you will die. And the serpent said, certainly you won't die. For God knows that on the day that you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will have a great awareness and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. And when the woman saw that it was good for food and it was delightful to look at and a tree to be desired in order to make one wise and insightful, she took some fruit and she ate it, and she also gave it to her husband and he ate it. You see, we, as humans, had everything. We had an abundance. We could have all that we could possibly need. But we looked at the one thing in the entire world that we couldn't have. And so this incredible gift, there was then mistrust. Is God lying? Is God telling the truth? Can I trust what he said? Because actually, a seed of doubt was sown. And she began to mistrust. So when she mistrusted God, she then started to believe, well, maybe this isn't enough. Maybe this isn't everything. Maybe I do need that. In fact, I think I need that. I need that. And she took it into her own hands. Now, at this wedding that I was at, I could have walked into the back of the church and seen that there was penguins on the chairs and thought, well, what if there isn't a penguin on my chair? Maybe I should just gather up some of these penguin bars because my kids will get hungry in the service and I'll want to try and keep them quiet. So if I just take a couple of these from these chairs, because maybe when I get to my seat, maybe there won't be any there. But it's all right. I'm doing it for what my family need, and maybe there won't be enough. So I'll just take these few and I'll just have them in my bag just in case I need them. And what if I got to the reception? And what if when the canapes were coming around, I was like, well, sometimes there isn't enough. Sometimes there's not enough for everybody. So if you just give me that tray, I'll just have that tray over here, and just give me that bottle of champagne. I'll take that, because what if by the time you've got to me, there isn't any left? What if I start gathering because I need to look after me and my own? That's all right. I'm a mum. I need to look after my kids. That's my job. That's my purpose. That's what I have to do. It's okay to provide for my family. It's okay to make sure my family are safe, my family are provided for. I can take matters into my own hands, but then that is forgetting the absolute joy of the bride and groom for providing and hosting and delighting in the fact that all of their guests' needs are provided for. You see, God is the ultimate host. God is the most generous host, and he has given us all that we need. In Matthew 6, verse 25, it says, "Therefore I tell you, stop being worried, perpetually uneasy and distracted about your life as to what you will eat or drink, nor about your body or what to wear. Is life not more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the sky. Neither they sow seed nor reap the harvest, yet they gather the crops into the barn. And yet your heavenly Father keeps feeding them. Are you not worth much more than they? And who are you, by worrying, can add even an hour to the end of your life? Why do you worry about your clothes? See how the lilies and wild flowers of the fields grow. They do not labor, nor do they spin wool to make clothing. And yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all of his glory and splendor dressed himself like one of these. But if God clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is cut and thrown into the furnace, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith?" Now that verse brings it right back to basics, brings it right back to the root of, we don't need to worry about this. It's already been provided. It's already been given. It's already been done. But you might be sat there thinking, yeah, but that's not true. That isn't true. People do go hungry. People do go without. There is chaos in the world. There's natural disasters, there's earthquakes, there's people starving, there's children going hungry right now in war-torn places. There is suffering going on. But Jesus knew about suffering. Jesus lived in a country where his people were under the rule and regime of the Romans, who kept them in order, who taxed them so highly that life was a struggle, who they didn't know whether they were going to have their next food. Jesus knew struggling, and Jesus lived amongst it. And yet, in this scarce environment, when things were uncertain, Jesus lived with abundance, because his eyes weren't on the scarcity. His eyes weren't of the things of this world. His eyes were on God. His eyes were on the generous host who provides everything, the generous host who he knew. So when I was thinking about how Jesus lived, I was thinking, if he lived in this scarce environment, but he trusted God's abundance, it reminded me of another story in the Old Testament when the Israelites were in the desert. They were in a literal desert. Literal, no food, no water. They were there without being planned for being there, because they had escaped from the Egyptians. They were kind of on the run and moving around. And what did God provide for them? Manna from heaven. An absolute miracle. In times where there wasn't anything, bread was on the floor, provided for them. And what did Moses say? Moses said, gather what you need for today. Don't gather more, don't gather less. Gather what you need for today. Did they do that? No. They took extra. Because what if tomorrow there isn't bread again? What if I go hungry tomorrow? What if my children are starving tomorrow? I'm just going to get a bit extra. I know you said that God will provide again tomorrow, but I'm just going to get extra, just in case he doesn't. Just in case that mistrust, that seed of doubt that is in us as humans, just in case God doesn't do what he's saying he is going to do. And the next day the bread was moldy because they said, don't do that. But there was more bread. And every time they needed bread, it was there because God provided. So it is, when you're amongst scarcity and you choose to live in abundance and you choose to trust God, it is an act of faith. And that is what God is calling us to do. You see, in 1 Corinthians it says, God chooses the foolish things of this world to shame the wise. And God chooses the weak things of the world to shame the strong. Because it makes sense to plan for the future. It makes sense to make sure that you and your family are safe and provided for. It makes sense to look after your own. But we shouldn't be living by human sense. We should be living in what God is calling us to do, stepping into that what God is calling us. We don't live in this culture of this world. We live in kingdom culture. We're living heaven on earth. We're not living on earth with everybody else struggling to get through the day. We are heaven on earth right now. Right now. We need to be living in scarcity, but knowing there's abundance. Because we know there's abundance. We have a God who is faithful again and again and again. We all have stories here of when God has provided. When God has provided, even though we made mistakes like the Israelites, even though he told us not to do that thing and we did it, and he still says, it's all right. I'm still going to provide, Kat. I'm still going to provide because you're my child and I said I would. Thanks. But if you can't trust that God created enough in the garden, if you can't trust that God is going to provide for you, then you can trust that Romans 8, for God proved his love for us again by giving us his greatest treasure, the gift of his son. And since God freely offered him up as a sacrifice to us all, he certainly won't withhold from us anything else that he has to give. We can believe in the resurrection of Jesus. We can believe in this new creation. We are living the party. This is it. We are in it, guys. We are living in the new creation. And not only that, did he give us the gift of Jesus, he also gave us the gift of the Holy Spirit that prompts us, that leads us, that guides us, that speaks to us. You see, if we keep our eyes fixed on God's gift to us, on the world, on everything that he's provided, on God's gift to us of Jesus, of God's gift to us, the Holy Spirit, if we keep our eyes fixed on that, if we know that, if we see that generosity, then generosity is our response. When we live that, when we fix our eyes on that, then we are generous because it's not even mine. It's not even mine. It was given to me. I went to a bridal shower a few months ago, and at this bridal shower, somebody couldn't come, and instead, in their place, they just sent champagne, loads of champagne, just sent bottles of champagne because they couldn't come. And I was like, this is incredible. This, just having champagne given as a gift, and it was just fun and special. And I came home and I said to Sam, when I grow up, I want to be the kind of person that just sends a bottle of champagne. I want to be that person because it inspired me to be like, that is so extravagant. That is so above and beyond. That's amazing. I want to be that because generosity inspires generosity. When you are in generosity, you feel covered, you feel protected, you feel, just I guess, looked after. And that should inspire us to be generous. And Jesus is incredible because not only does he say to be generous to your people, to be generous to each other, he says to be generous to your enemies. He says to be generous to all, to love all. So here, as we are heaven on earth, or we are the kingdom bringers, we are God's people, and we know his generosity. We can fix our eyes on his generosity. We know all that he has given us. We can then step forward and continue to be generous to each other. Now, generosity looks like sharing your money. Generosity looks like giving your time. It looks like showing up for each other. It looks like sharing what you've got in your hands. You see, because there is chaos in the world. There is disaster, there is destruction, but we are here to share our generosity. If at the wedding I started gathering up all the penguins and gathering up all the hors d'oeuvres, there wouldn't be enough. There wouldn't be enough for everyone. Not everyone would have got a penguin. Not everyone would have got the hors d'oeuvres because I wasn't being generous. I would be living in a scarcity mindset. And that is exactly what's happening in our world today. There is enough. We have it, but we're holding it. We have it, but it's in our bank accounts. We have it, but it's in our hands and we're holding it tightly. We're not looking out for each other. We're not sharing. We're not providing for each other. We're living like it's ours. And now in the story of the widow with the 2 coins, in the story just before that, Jesus says to the people about he is cross at people for taking widows' homes from beneath them for I don't know why they were taking it, but that's just in the chapter before. It says like you are taking the widows' homes from them. And then in that chapter, you've got the rich people giving their money generously to the temple. And then he says, this widow has given everything she had. And as much as God provides for her and God's done it, he was cross. He was cross about that. And in the next chapter after that, he says, the temple will be gone. The temple will be ruined. Jesus was cross because in Deuteronomy it says very clearly, look after the widows, protect the orphans. With your finances, they should want for nothing. And yet here, in the temple, in the very place where the Jewish people should be looking after each other, you have somebody who's given everything and has nothing left. And the rest of you are just given a big amount, but you've got a big amount left. Jesus is saying, no, that's not okay. And I've come to destroy this. I'm not for this. I'm not about this. We should be looking after each other. We should be protecting each other. We should be providing for each other. And that is why, that's why we give our resources to the church. We give our resources to God because we're saying, God, you have provided all. And we know you're going to keep on providing, but it's not mine. I give freely and I want to share and I want it to be enough. If the band want to come back up. So I just want to take some time now because it's so easy to live in a scarcity mindset. It's so easy to focus on the tree, to focus on the thing that we don't have, to focus on the thing that's hard, to focus on the thing that we feel like there isn't enough, instead of focusing on what we do have, in focusing on what God has provided, in focusing on the abundance of heaven. And so I just think, whilst we're worshipping, let's think about that. Let's just sit in the moment and just open up our hearts, open up our minds and our ears to God and say, God, is there anything in me that's living in scarcity? Is there anything in me that's not living in your abundance, is not trusting in your abundance? And if there's anything that you want to have prayer for, we would love to pray for you. But I think just this is between you and God. Is there any root in you that lives in that scarcity? And also stepping into generosity. God, what do you want me to be generous? That's what the Holy Spirit provides in us. It prompts us in our heart. Here, go and do this. Here, give to that person. Here, invite this person over. Here, go and give your time and work here, or go and clean here, or do whatever it is. So let's just sit and just reflect in the next song. What God are we living in scarcity? And what God, how can I show abundance? How can I be generous and share what you've shared with me?